This episode is brought to you by PayPal. You had plans for the last days of summer. And back-to-school shopping has its own plans. School supplies, dorm essentials, your list doesn't stop. Neither does the spending. But when you pay in full with PayPal, you can pay over time. No interest, no fees. Check out with PayPal and get back to summer. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payinfor. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
This is a special edition of The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson, and long overdue, we are going to spend this episode getting to know the one, the only Tolliver, our DJ, who is also a musician, a commercial actor, a journalist, and more. Tolliver, your moment has finally come.
Oh my God, you forgot Cat Dad. Okay.
That's true. And we can see, people that are watching this can see your cats walking right behind you in your house. So first of all, I should explain to our listeners or viewers who have not heard me say this in a while, you are a DJ on our radio show, but you are not a DJ on our podcast because we don't have the rights to play the music that you play. But in reality, on the show, each week, that's why we call you the DJ, you play music into the breaks.
I do. And I've told you many times, I'll improvise those songs if you want, so that we have the rights to them.
That's right. Then we could play it because then you can sign away the rights. But like each week you go and you look at the topic that we're doing and you pick certain songs that kind of make a connection to what we're talking about.
Exactly. And it's been really fun. I mean, it's rebuilt my music library in a way that I really, really love. It's expanded my taste because I have to do a lot more research. And a lot of times we're doing stories, obviously, about international issues. And so I'm digging into those, communities and those traditions. So it's been really, really nice. So I dig it.
Okay, so let's get to your musical background because you were born and raised, as you've said a few times on the show, in the city of Chicago. Your dad was a Baptist preacher. Your mom was a musician.
Yes, my mom was the lead singer in my dad's church. She was the soprano. He called her his soprano. And she got all the solos, and all the other women in the church were jealous and that kind of thing. But that is how I became a singer, because I watched her. I actually started by playing piano in the church. My dad forced me to sit at the piano during the services and hoped that I would just kind of pick it up. And then, I got to play with my mom. So it was kind of like a family band situation. She's my inspiration for singing. She's great.
Did you play any other instruments?
I picked up guitar when I got to high school. I used to play. I remember being in my uncle's freezing cold garage in Chicago, trying to learn guitar, trying to learn Oasis songs and stuff like that. And really, really struggling with it, to be honest, but I do play it now. So guitar and piano are my main two instruments that I write songs on and that I gravitate towards. So
both of my parents are classical pianists, and all of my siblings, because I was one of 7 kids, we all had to take piano and one other instrument. Mine was the cello, which I was much better at than piano. But at around age like 13 or 14, I realized that I would never be as good at those instruments as my parents were, and I stopped playing them. I was like, I am not going to be a professional at this. And so I had already started doing radio. So I was like, okay, this is my lane. I'm going to stick here because I will maybe be able to excel at this.
Yeah, well, I don't know if the people know, but I'm 6'5", for those of you listening at home. So that was basketball for me. So I was. They're like, you're gonna play. You're getting to the league, man. Because I was probably 6'1" in like 6th grade or something. I was very tall in 6th grade, and all my friends were great at basketball, and I tried so hard, and I just couldn't do it. And I said, if I can't be a pro at this, Jeremy, I'm not gonna do it. Right. And so immediately I went into DJing.
Well, I'm not over 6 feet, and I was also not going to be a pro at basketball. I played it for about 3 weeks in high school, and I was like, this is not for me. What about the other aspect of our show? Did you pay attention to news and politics when you were a kid?
No, it took me until Barack Obama's election, his campaign, to really get into politics. I was, I was in Chicago when that happened. The Grant Park rally happened kitty corner from my college. And I remember that being just like this monumentous day. You could see people spilling out to the streets. So that really swept me into caring about politics. And I ended up like volunteering with like neighborhood organizations in Chicago and, canvassing for Barack and stuff like that. And so that's really what got me into it. And I've been paying attention, quite a bit. But then I will say, just being honest, the show really brought me back into paying attention to daily politics and, just reading the news a lot more thoroughly. So I do appreciate that as well.
Although you also ran for office in the city of Chicago.
That's a common misconception because my email address starts with alderman. My dream was to become an alderman in Chicago, and I considered it for many years. This was during when I first started canvassing for like nonprofits and stuff like that. My dream was to become an alderman. I said, this is where this is all leading towards. But unfortunately, I joined the clown show that is musicians because it was just a bit more fun. If I'm being honest, it was just a bit more of a good time. So,
all right. What did you love listening to music-wise when you were young?
Yeah, I mean, we listened to a lot of gospel music because as we talked about, my dad and my mom. So lots and lots of gospel. But then when they went to sleep, we would listen to a station called B96 in Chicago. Yeah. Okay, you know B96. So they would play like a lot of house mixes, and then there were other stations that play like rap and R&B. So that was kind of our like nighttime music once our parents went to bed, or just when they weren't around. But outside of that, like my mom played a lot of Mahalia Jackson, and then just like a lot of modern gospel, so like Kirk Franklin and things like that. We're always playing in the house and on the radio, and I was like, Mom, please change the channel. You're begging her to turn the radio station to Aaliyah, or somebody else. But it's all good,
Did you ever go to like the blues clubs in Chicago?
Yeah, I've been to a couple of blues clubs in Chicago. Muddy Waters Blues Club was like a regular for me. Because my band, I had a soul band in Chicago. I've been playing soul music, singing soul music for 20 plus years. And so, blues clubs, jazz clubs. Oh my God, we used to play at a blues-ish club. It was a blues club called the Winds Cafe. And that was in Logan Square, right off the Logan Square stop. And we used to always get cheated. I don't want to get a defamation suit by the owner, who I won't name. We would play there for like 3-hour sets with like different blues bands and whatnot. And then it was a great time. I mean, we were like super young, but Wynn's Cafe, you owe me $50. Okay.
Now, did you ever want to be a preacher like your dad?
Yes, I did. I mean, unfortunately, my dad passed away when I was 11, but I'll say, most of the time that I was lucky enough to have him on this earth, I wanted to be a preacher. My brother also wanted to be a preacher. I mean, he was like a community leader, like a lot of preachers. He had 2 different churches in the time that, that I knew him, and was just he was a pastor at 2 churches in the time I knew him, and a preacher at a 3rd. So we had a lot of different church communities. We traveled around a lot as like guest churches to other churches. All of my friends were in church, and then, obviously some school friends, but most of them were church people. Because, in church you spend, at least in the Baptist church, you spend like 12 hours a day. And like a Sunday is like 12 hours or something like that. And then you're at church for Bible study, stuff like that throughout the week. So, yeah, I wanted to be a pastor. And, a lot of times I consider my music career an extension of that. Because if you've seen me perform, it's very pastor-like. It's very like riffing on the mic, talking loud, trying to get people involved, call and response kind of stuff. So it's still there.
Well, and we're going to hear some of one of your songs a little later on this show. But you talked about your dad passing away. You mentioned on our show recently about homelessness, that right around the time that happened, when you were 11 years old, you were briefly homeless yourself.
Yeah, we were homeless. My dad passed away, and unfortunately, my mom just struggled with mental health and still does. So she couldn't manage the meager money that we had left for my dad, especially splitting it amongst my siblings and my, just the rest of my family. And so we ended up living in the south suburbs with my aunt and uncle in a house with like 12 people in there in South Holland. Shout out to South Holland. And then intermittently, because we didn't have enough space in that place, would bounce around to like hotels in the area and like motels in Chicago. But South Holland was sort of like our second home, and then it would take me like 2.5 hours to get to school. But like I was alluding to, the city of Chicago did help me out a lot by giving me like free bus passes. Like, if you didn't have a home, they would give you like free transit and like other benefits. So I got to shout out the city for what they did try to do.
Do you think though that experience has shaped you in a big way, even to this day?
Yeah, I mean, I think it absolutely does. I think my experience with, being homeless for those few years has made me super malleable. I would say that there isn't a lot that scares me. I don't know. And I will even say this, like economic woes in my personal life and things like that don't really make me nervous, because I feel like I've survived what is probably like the worst situation that I could have been in at a very sensitive time in my life. And I have this belief that I can get past it. I can get through anything. So, Tony Robbins, thank you for that. But I really have a resilient spirit that I think carries on through that.
Now, there's another aspect of your career that we haven't talked about, which is that you're a journalist, you're a writer. You actually won a writing contest when you were young as well for the Chicago White Sox.
Oh my God! Yeah, I won a few of them. Okay, but that was my favorite one. It was actually about what my father means to me. It was really special because my father had recently passed, and my uncle stepped in. So I wrote a story about my uncle and how he'd stepped in to be my dad after my dad had passed. And I won. And the Chicago White Sox, by the way, were my obsession. I should make that clear. I knew everything about the Chicago White Sox. I knew everybody's batting average. I knew, just every pitcher's ERA. I had that team down. And so when I won the competition, it meant a lot to me because I got to sit in sort of like a VIP area. I remember very specifically we got free hot dogs. I remember that I had access to as many free hot dogs as I wanted, and I thought that was just like the coolest thing in the world. And so it was, it was really special because I got to spend that day with my uncle, watching my favorite team in the world. And also, like I said, I'd won a few writing contests, so it became clear to me. I was like, okay, I think I might be good at this.
It's amazing the information as kids that we can keep in our heads. I remember actually after we did a project in either third or fourth grade, or like we had a whole period of time in our class where we learned about the countries of Africa, and you could cover up any country name on the map of Africa, and I could tell you what it was.
Oh,
and
my God.
I don't think I can even do that with some of them now. Although some of them have changed since then, too. Let's be real.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, no, that was cool. All right. Well, this would normally be the time on the radio show where we would ask Tolliver to play some music, but we can't do that, as we said, because we have no rights. So we'll be right back with more of Tolliver's history in just a moment.
This episode is brought to you by PayPal. You had plans for the last days of summer, and back-to-school shopping has its own plans. School supplies, dorm essentials, your list doesn't stop. Neither does the spending. But when you pay in full with PayPal, you can pay over time. No interest, no fees. Check out with PayPal and get back to summer. Subject to approval. Learn more at paypal.com/payinfor. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
Welcome back to a special episode of The Middle. I'm Jeremy Hobson. I'm joined by our DJ Tolliver, as I am every week on The Middle. But this time we are getting a behind-the-scenes look at Tolliver. And Tolliver, we were just talking about your early writing career, but you also have been doing some work as a journalist for the LA Times. Tell me about some of the other projects that you do as a journalist.
Yeah, I actually got my master's in journalism, and since then I've written for like Reuters, like you said, LA Times, a lot of different outlets, a lot of like very local California outlets, niche stuff, and Minneapolis. But the ones
because you live in the city of Los Angeles.
Yes, I live in the city of Los Angeles.
Listeners know exactly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's why it's California stuff. Yes.
Thank you so much. But yeah, so probably my proudest is my time with LA Times on their social media team. Just digging into stories like niche stories in Los Angeles, and I did some. I don't know if we can talk about this, but like there was like a strippers strike in North Hollywood, and they were trying to unionize. Like stories like that in Los Angeles were my favorite ones to do for LA Times.
We can talk about that. By the way, don't you remember that time that we got a call from a stripper on The Middle who had just like gotten paid in Bitcoin? It was our show about Bitcoin.
Oh my God!
Just got off the pole in Philadelphia, and the guy paid me with Bitcoin. So yes, you can talk about that.
That's pretty cool. I love that. But yeah, stories like that. And I just started with LA Taco, which is kind of like a more insurgent news outlet here in Los Angeles. But yeah, I mean. So the LA Taco, LA Times, I'm a celebrity journalist. I've been doing that for about 12 years straight. So sitting in like hotels, eating free food, and then going to meet Christina Aguilera. That's been a life of mine that I've done for a long time. And I do like doing that stuff. I love it really, but I am so serious when I say half of it is the free food.
What is the most interesting celebrity that you've gotten to meet through that?
My favorite celebrity I've met is Kelly Rowland, hands down. Loved Kelly. I walked into that room and it was just like breathing. It was like I was floating on it. I was like Falcor, Never-Ending Story. It's just like the sweetest, kindest person. It almost feels like she's interviewing you in a weird way. So I really, really loved her. Let's see, most interesting. I did a junket with Ariana Grande that never came out. Ariana Grande and Bowen Yang, and I found them. Yeah, I would say
I've met Bowen Yang and talked to him. He is such a down to earth, like awesome guy.
You know what I'm saying? We ended up talking about like his a cappella group in high school, talking about that a lot. And Ariana was really, really sweet. I was very nervous to meet her, but she walked up and hugged me in the first 10 seconds of meeting her.
Wow.
And so now she's on my most interesting list because I was like, oh my God, so that works.
Yeah. Now, on top of all of this, there's another aspect of your multi-talented career or careers, which is that you're also an actor. You've done a number of commercials, including one for Xbox. Check this out. All right, if we let that play any longer, we're going to have to charge Xbox to advertise on this podcast. But that's amazing. How big of a part of your life is acting and doing that kind of thing now?
It's a pretty big part. I sort of lucked into an agent just via a friend. I was literally talking at Akbar, an esteemed establishment out here in L.A., about how I'd like to get into acting, and he got me with his agent. And probably for the last 3 years, I've been acting decently consistently in commercials. And by that, I mean like probably 3 or 4 a year. The Xbox one was my favorite because I'm the only guy in that commercial, basically,
right.
except for the hand you see with the top hat. So that
how long do you have to like do the taping for something like that? Was that just a day?
No, it was a couple days.
Okay.
But it was just like, it was such a good time. And, you make a lot of friends. And we shot that in Portland. So, I'm out of town. Sometimes they get you out of town, fly you around places. So that was nice. I will say one commercial, most of it is the still image that exists, that is popular. But I took an episode off of the middle one time, I want to say 2 years ago. I was like, Jeremy, I got a commercial. So I shot this Zillow commercial that people see, message me in all the time. It's me with my, my body. It's me next to a home, I should say. It'll be like $2 million, $3 million home. And it's just like a home I, couldn't possibly live in at this juncture in my life. And people are like, look at you, standing next to the $3 million house. It's fun. So.
You also, by the way, had a song that was in the finale of Abbott Elementary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really, really fun. That was Booyah, which is my song that goes, I'm trying to make money. Ooh, I'm trying to get paid,
right?
Exactly. I love that song. But yeah, that played at a party scene at the end of Abbott Elementary, which was really, really cool. I've gotten some really, really good ones. I got one where it was a judge show that for some reason I can't remember the name of the show, which is fine. Oh, it was called All Rise, where the judge is walking into the, what do you call it, the court building?
The chambers, or the court, yeah.
Yeah, and she's going through security, and she's got her AirPods in or whatever, and she's dancing to my music for about, it went on for a long time, probably 60 seconds that she's jamming to my music. That's my favorite. I like the ones where I'm featured a little bit, where it's I'm the commercial guy, it's my song, that kind of stuff, so.
Well, let's watch another big moment for you. And this was something that I saw even before I brought you onto this show, The Middle. You had already performed on The Late Late Show with James Corden. Mm-hmm. Here you are performing your song, Say What?
Yeah, performing Say What from the deluxe edition of his brand new EP, Daddyland, which is out right now. Please welcome the phenomenal Tolliver.
Yes. Happy Black History Month, everybody. I'm blacker than I've ever been today. We look beautiful, don't we? Yeah. Ooh. Call me bad, bigger. Glide across the room. I've been fresh as honeydew since it came about the womb. Call me bad, bigger. Glide across the room. Hey, I stay so fresh to death. Have you dancing in your tune? I'm a billionaire, stashed all in my underwear. Got baby skin, hair just like a cardigan. I'm interested, and I wear deodorant. But don't
By the way, first of all, as I'm listening to you do that, one of the noises you're making sounds very Prince-like, I will say.
Is it the one that?
Ooh, yeah, exactly. And then also, you performed that when you came and we did the show in Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
In a very different outfit than what you were wearing there on James Corden, but also a great outfit.
I got a few of them in many different colors, Jeremy. United Colors have been in time with those. A lot of faux furs and stuff like that. Man, that was fun. James Corden is a hoot. I feel I don't know if I should say what he said. I mean, it wasn't like rated X, but what I will say is he walked up to me and he was like, "Finally, somebody on this show that can perform." I'm just gonna say it. He did say that to me off camera.
Wow.
He did say that to me off camera. Like at the end where you see him running up to me. But that was so much fun. I was really nervous, and then I was in the dressing room and they were like, "James is gonna do a bit with you," and they zoomed to the camera into the dressing room and he's like, "Tolliver, what's going?" And I'm on that show with the guy from Parks and Rec, who's the mean guy with the mustache. The actor I'm talking.
Ron Swanson.
I'm on there with Ron Swanson and all these other pros, and I'm just, it's like little old me. And so, but it was really fun because I felt like I held my own and I had a great time. So I'm glad you saw that because I feel like that was probably a good audition for the middle.
Yeah, that was great. I was like, oh, he's already been on the Late Show. Perfect.
Yeah.
What do you like about doing this show, The Middle, which has now been on the air as a weekly show for just about 3 years?
Jeremy, I remember the first show. This is crazy. I remember being so nervous. So it's nice to be in year 3 and kind of like, to feel like I've lived in it for quite some time and I've been in your house. Just to answer the question directly, I will say, sorry, it's a pageant answer a little bit, but I like doing the show because, you're my friend. I like, I feel like every week I get to hang out with the homies, Harrison, our producer. But then outside of that kind of thing, I would say, obviously, like, learning about the world. Who do we have on recently? Oh, like Fareed Zakaria. Oh my God, when we have Fareed Zakaria on as our guest, it's like a mile a minute information about global conflicts and stuff like that. We had Neil deGrasse Tyson on, which allows me to flex to my friends that I met Neil deGrasse Tyson. Just like really, really interesting people that I learned from rapidly during the show. It's probably my favorite part of doing the show. Also the callers. I love the unpredictability of life generally, but also our callers are who you already talked about, the stripper who got paid in Bitcoin. Obviously, there's the infamous woman who got pulled over during the show. Even the people who call in and they just kind of go on these rants that kind of take it outer space and stuff like that. I personally love those things. I know you as, like, obviously the host of the show, that can get a bit something or other. But I love sitting
people
there.
usually stay, like, mostly on track.
I love our callers. Our callers are super smart.
And by the way, I remember that Fareed Zakaria complimented you on your music.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cornel West complimented you on your music when he was on.
Candy Crowley also complimented me.
Candy Crowley. Yeah, a lot of people are like, "We thank you, Tolliver. That was so great." Do you ever get recognized as the DJ from The Middle?
Yes, I do. I was in Minneapolis a few weeks ago for a show. This is crazy, and we played. We had a great show. It was amazing. Then we went to like a friend's house as like, just to hang out after the show. And this guy I had said my name, like, "Oh, hey, Tolliver's here, Tolliver's here." And he was like, "That's crazy. There's this guy like on this show I like, his name is Tolliver, blah, blah." And he was like, he's like, he has a radio show. He's on the radio. I was like, "You mean like The Middle?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, that's me, man." And like, like legitimately. And for the next, like, I want to say like, hour, and I loved it. For the next hour, this guy was like, "So tell me about blah, blah, blah," because he wanted to get into public radio, still wants to get into public radio. And he was just going on and on about the show. I should have told you this. I'm at this party. I've had a Modelo or two, and this guy is just going in on The Middle. But that was really, really fun. And now we follow each other and message back and forth. But
great.
That was the main time I got recognized. He was like, "Tolliver? Wait, Tolliver, Tolliver."
And, I've gone to stations around the country, NPR stations, to do like events and stuff. And they're like, "Is Tolliver coming? Is Tolliver here?"
I like you keeping me humble,
Yeah, well, you're our like Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz. So now you just maybe you'll run for office next. Well, we'll see. Maybe that'll be coming back.
Circle back, become an alderman. Exactly.
That would make me Oprah, but I'm definitely, I make about as much money as her lowest paid employee right now.
Couple tax brackets to climb. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tolliver, thank you for letting us into your life a little bit, and for being with us on The Middle every week for 3 years almost, amazingly. And I will talk to you on the next live show.
Can't wait. Thanks, Jeremy.
All right, great. And thank you for listening to this special episode of The Middle. It was produced, as always, by Harrison Patino. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. I'm Jeremy Hobson. I will talk to you soon.